follow up on that. Let me kind of try to put it in perspective. So people are saying, you know, Secretary Newland, Assistant Secretary Newland said, there's these facilities there, and there's something in those facilities that's dangerous because we're afraid the Russians will get a hold of it. Now, I understand that there's a difference between a bioweapons facility and one that's doing research. A bio-research facility is a totally different thing than a bioweapon facility, because you could have samples of a deadly or, you know, serious pathogen, but that doesn't mean you could weaponize it or that you're working on weaponizing it. But people ask themselves, if there's these facilities there, and there's a lot that play here. I mean, there was a lot, we should have, and this is none of you, but a long time ago, this should have been acknowledged. Like there are these labs, this is what they do, because a lot of these fact checkers just said, don't even mention labs because they don't even exist. They do, they exist all over the world. There's labs like that right here. So what I think got some people fired up is when she said, we're worried that the Russians will get a hold of these facilities, because that implies that there's something in those facilities dangerous. So I don't know if you could shed some light on how there can be things in a lab that are dangerous, but they not be weapons labs.
Yeah, all I would say, Senator, is that, you know, that the danger here, it seems to me, is the capacity the Russians have developed and that they've used in the past, and their, you know, interest in trying to create false narratives here as well. To the best of my knowledge, well, you have to be careful about, you know, any of those substances you've talked about, which you see in public health or research systems around the world for civilian purposes. Well, you have to be careful about that. That is in no way akin to the kind of threats that would be posed by, you know, weapons research and development or weapons facilities.
Yeah, I just think that the answer is what piqued a lot of people's, and look, they're latching onto it, is my point. This is what I think there's been such a good job done at defeating them in the information space, but this is one where they seem to have latched on. I don't think anyone believes per se that if there's some very serious attack or even a fake one that they're going to convince the American public that the Ukrainians are behind it, but it's the confusion around it that I worry about debilitating the debate and allowing them to deflect it. I do want to ask you, and you in particular, Director Burns, because you have been involved with Russia issues for a very long time. So I think as much as anyone involved today in this issue, you've had an opportunity to watch Vladimir Putin through the years, I suppose. And this whole thing about they're having negotiations or apparent negotiations today in Turkey with the foreign ministers. It's my view that he uses negotiations as just another tool in his toolbox. What is your view of why he continues to agree to these talks and put these talks forward if we know they're not resulting in anything? And in fact, he's violating whatever they even nominally agree to.
Well, I mean, I think, Senator, yours is a fair assumption that these sometimes are just used tactically as well. You know, I think the core issue here is that President Putin does not have a sustainable end game in Ukraine right now. So the question is he simply going to continue to double down and grind down the Ukrainian military and the Ukrainian population, or at some point, does he recognize that reality, that he doesn't have a sustainable end game, and look for ways to end the bloodshed, to cut his losses, and to, you know, reaffirm the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine. Now, given Putin's track record, given the fact that he's someone who hates to act out of what he believes to be weakness, that he hates to concede or admit mistakes, that's probably a long shot. But, you know, that's our hope, at least, that at some point he recognizes that. Because absent that, you know, off-ramps become just rhetoric.
Thank you for raising the